the corporation end up convincing us that they was our government. See, one of the hardest things for us to realize is the appearance of legitimacy will never legitimize a bald-faced lie. How y'all doing, people? Come on in. Invite who y'all know. Invite y'all whole friends list. We're going to go over a little, because the problem is that we got different systems running, overlapping each other, all of them appearing to work together for a unified agenda, but they all got different agendas. And these systems are not all established by the same people, but there are all these people that's coming to loot, pillage, and rape the land, the babies and the women. We looking at it, but we only can see the sunny side of the egg. We don't see the side where the rubber meet the road, where the egg meet the skillet, right? We only see the sunny side because they only want us to see the side of the agenda that they present that make them appear to be working on our behalf, and they are not. They never been working for us. They never been doing anything to benefit us. And matter of fact, all of the benefits that they extract from the people and from the land, they extend those benefits to foreign powers in foreign places to extend their totalitarian reach, what they call in their doctrine the long arm of the law. Now, when we looking at the corporation, right, you have a military branch of the occupiers. This includes all branches of the military, National Guard, Coast Guard, and police forces. They look like they all have a common agenda, but they don't. The military that they populate with the people from the land, they use them to extend their totalitarian reach beyond the limits of the borders of the geography called North America. Most of us don't know that Canada and North America is the same thing, or the United States and Canada is one corporation. How do I know that? Because the CUSIP number, C-U-S-I-P, the CUSIP number, which is the registration number of the corporation, is the exact same number, meaning it's the exact same company. Meaning that England divided the land up among England, right? And they gave the crown holdings of the far north, what we call beyond the Canadian border, to be governed by the Royal Army of England, called the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, right? Notice that they're called police at the end, right? But they call them Mounties so that you never equate the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. You'll never equate them with the police of the varying different cities in the America. In the Policia in Mexico and Puerto Rico, and all of them are occupiers. So one of the biggest lies they told us is that the League of Nations was the first effort to organize a united front among the European powers. Following that the United Nations was the recovery for the failed attempts at the League of Nations after World War I. Well, they've been in the league the whole time, and the police force is under the control of Buckingham Palace in the charter for the police, the working police manual, what they go get their method of operation from, is chartered out of England. The English forces was under treaty with French and Spanish forces as a way to call the coup or the rebellion that they called the Civil War. If you go back and you remember, you had your red coats and you had your blue coats. They don't talk about the white coats and the gray coats, though, because now you start to talk about the Iroquois Confederacy, the tribal nations that was 9 treaty tribes that formed alliances against the red coats and the blue coats. Then you're looking at it as they telling you one English, one British. I'm like, wait a minute, England is in Britain. What is they talking about? But we don't ask those questions. So when they came over here, the way that we did things is like the Quakers. Whatever you remember, it was all about religion. The religion of the owners of the corporation are the bankers that we call Khazarians. They are the owners of the banks that the military required in order to do military operations. Right? Now I have to refer y'all back to the Gulf War, Bush Cheney, Halliburton contracts to control the area. Not until Biden dumped all that equipment over in Afghanistan did they leave. They've been over there for 20 years at that point. And so he left billions of dollars in surplus military stock because the bankruptcy told them that that was insured. So if he leave all of these military armaments in Afghanistan, it is insured as a side effect of warfare. And that's why Congress didn't object to him pulling out on short notice. Yeah. So now you have these Khazarians that's owning the banks. They the ones can dictate how the military branch of government is moving, because you're in an occupied territory. Now, if you go back and look, they call us enemy combatant tribes. They call us belligerent tribes. They call us non-treaty tribes. They call us non-treaty dependent nations. They call us all that, right? But where are we? And as they're making this advance, fighting them every step of the way. But don't nobody want to listen to the other chiefs. The chiefs are not communicating effectively enough to put up a sufficient enough front to stop them in their tracks and run them off the land. Can't do that. You can't fight a war at home and abroad at the same time. It's not going to never work. It's going to always be disaster in the end. Right? So they got us up here believing that we going in the fight and Uncle Sam's army is defending us over here. No, it's not. The U.S. military's job is not to defend us, it's to defend the banks. That's what they're here for. The banks are commissioned through the barristers as banksters. They call privateers and racketeers, but they all banksters, right? And what they do is they come in under the salvage right and they start to catalog everything. This is what your tax returns is, the cataloging of the property. So while you doing their work for them, you making it easier for them to keep you in the bondage of the oppressive regime. So what they did to us was they went behind us. We left all of the major cities to go fight the Gullah Wars, what they call the Seminole Wars. And that's how you know who's telling the story. The Gullah Wars, we telling it. We teaming up, all tribes across the land teaming up with the Gullah Geechee, the Getty Geechee. Because it ain't just Gullah Geechee, it's Getty Geechee, it's Getty Geechee. These are all different clans under the same prime stock, right? So you're looking at these different tribes, you're looking at branches on the tree. The root stock of all of the tribes of North and South America, Central America, the islands, the root stock is the old Mississippians. This is the oldest clans that was over here. And we go all the way back to Atlantis. And when you're talking about your Aztec, Inca, Maya, that's the same people. Toltecs, those are the ancient Mississippians, but they from a different part of the land, same people, what we call root stock. The root stock, marrying other tribes from around the world, created what we call branches of the family tree, right? The prime stalk of the tree, which we call the trunk. We call it the trunk because it is the mimic of the elephant trunk that caused the family to dinner. Well, that was a whole ancient practice that we used to do because we wasn't using bells yet. We was having the animals do the work, and the elephant was assigned that at a certain time of day, he raised her trunk up and she called everybody home with a roar. And we, humans, don't even know elephants is organically original to North America. We, we don't know, the organic people of the land don't know, lions came from over here. We took them motherfuckers over to Africa. We took them to Asia. We sent them as presents and gifts around the world, and they came over here and killed them all off. But see, they don't want to talk about that because they want you to believe everything that we doing is tied back to Africa in order to displace us from the homeland. America is the most critical piece of land on the planet because this is the land of Tahuti, the firstborn of the earthborn, parthogenic son of the Great Mother. And his job is to defend Earth. So when you come over here, know that all of the sons of the Great Mother is present to whoop your ass back home. Wherever you from. We don't care where you from. We ain't no respecters of person, no big eyes, no little views. We ain't gonna bully you, but you sure as hell ain't gonna bully us. Right? We ain't gonna push you down, but we sure in the hell ain't gonna back down either when you start pushing. So you got to realize that just because we kind and generous and good-hearted people don't mean we don't, because the same amount of good we got in us is the same amount of bad we'll pour out on your candy ass. Yep. The tiger is it's a hybrid. It's not even an original cat, and I'm not going to go into that. It's a different stock of lion. That's why it acts different, because it was derived from crossing the lion with a now extinct species of cat that produced the tiger. Just like the Bengal tiger is the biggest tiger, right? They had lions that used to dwarf a Bengal tiger. Over here, we had giant lions. We had woolly mammoths. They killed them off. They got y'all thinking it ain't been no woolly mammoths for thousands of years. No, we used to ride woolly mammoths only about 400, 500, 600 years ago. We was riding woolly mammoths. All of a sudden, we don't got no elephants on the land no more. We don't got no bison. They killed almost all of them off. They killed off almost all of the original lions. Now, you can imagine a lion running across a bear in the woods. That's a fight to behold. Yeah, so even the camel. The camel not from the Middle East. They got y'all thinking the camel from Arabia, Iraq, Iran. No, the camel from South America. It was originally from the tribes of South America. The same with the llama. They cousins. But they come over here, they kill all our camels off so that they could tell us the camel ain't from over here, so they can rewrite history to structure it how they want it. But science got a weird way of digging stuff up. Archaeologists and anthropologists. The archaeologists is the ones digging it up to give you the keys. The anthropologist is the one throwing you off the trail. they slick. Yep. The whole, like, you can look up tree walker tribes and you can find around the world tribes that lived like the old Mississippians. Big Tookie was what we call a sky tribe chief, right? We talking about tree walkers, literally, not tree walkers in the sense of that guy could climb a tree real good. They had scaffoldings. You can go up, and back in the day in Louisiana, up a tree in the bayou, and you get up there, you're gonna meet a whole nother set of living style, whole different lifestyle, whole different set of our tribes that lived in the treetops. They don't tell us these lumberjack stories, Babe the Blue Ox and Paul Bunyan stories just because they slick. They tell us them stories to make mockery of us by declaring that the ones that chopped our trees down was a giant of a man in comparison to the ones who used to live in them instead of removing them. They use these psychological tactics, but we don't know what they doing because our perception of psychology is not that deep. Psychology is a ancient temple science from the temple priests. Psychiatry, if you go back and you look at Sigmund Freud's desk, you got all these African artifacts on there and don't nobody know why. Because that's who was teaching him the principles of psychiatry and the utilization of herbs in order to balance the chemistry of the brain. And he brought it over here with his crackhead ass, because he was a crackhead way back then. He was a crackhead before we knew what crack was. Right? Hey, Nikki. And so, all this stuff, like when y'all be hearing me talking, and then sometimes y'all be hearing me bring up information that you never heard before. Our 12-year-olds used to do this stuff. Like right now, I'm still suffering from arrested development. I'm not fully unleashed. I'm still suffering from arrested development, memory lapses, and where I could grab onto a subject, I know what I'm talking about, and then I just go blank. That's all part of that spell. But I be fighting it so hard that it can only last for so long, and I'm going to snap up out of it because I understand what's working, how it works, so then I know how to approach the information to shake it loose from their traps that they put on us using the conjures. You can play with shit, but you're going to stink when you get done. That's a fact. You can play with shit, but you're going to stink when you get done because you're going to smell just like shit. Right? So, when we looking at the history, when Noble Drew Ali say in Circle 7 to worship under your own vine and fig tree, everybody was supposed to have their own tribal structure. The tribal structure for the people that came over here was called a constitution. Most of the tribes had an oral constitution, and the child normally learned it in pieces as he grew up, so that by the time he become the chief, he can recite the constitution from beginning to end without missing a beat. They kept this practice alive in Islam with the ones who remember the Quran called the Hafiz, right? They did the same thing in Christianity. I don't know what they called them, but they used to have people that used to memorize the Bible. Then you have them in India that memorize the Mahabharata. So while all these people is memorizing this stuff, this is based on the old ancient oral tradition. In order to be a thing, you must become that thing in which you aspire to be. And you become it by stage and degree, by little piece or bite of information that you build on top of. When my mama was teaching me stuff when I was a little boy, I never knew that puzzle solving, finding lost things and stuff she used to make a big deal when I was 2, 3 years old, that didn't seem like a big deal. Like, why is this such a big deal? Would come back to become a skill that I would need in order to get all of these pieces from different places around the world and put this puzzle together and be like, wait a minute, we got tricked like a mother. Did y'all see that trick? No, we didn't see it. Damn. I'm the only one seeing the trick. You apparently the only one seeing it. You're the only one saying it. Then after I started talking about it, then other people started saying, wait a minute. This guy on to something. He sounded crazy for a minute, but now that I listen to what he's saying, so America was only supposed to have been a small settlement. It was never supposed to have been a national government. It was never supposed to absorb 50 states or 50 territories under one structure. They did that in violation of every tribe from the East Coast to the West. They figuratively and literally raped us into submission and economically. Look, I keep telling people, if you pay attention to history, it tells on itself. It's not like a far stretch. Now remember, from the narrative they gave us, we all came over from Africa on slave ships. This same narrative, they said that paleface can't teach us to read. It was against the law. Paleface can't sell us land. It's against the law. Paleface can't let us sit at the same dinner tables with them. It was against the law. No, it wasn't. It was against the code of vine and fig tree. Anybody can come over here, but you have to stay in your own community. And that's why you got a Chinatown, right? That's why you got a Koreatown, a little Mexico, or you have a little India, where all of these communities from around the world come over here and they stay together. But then they go out on the land to make a living, but then they all come back to their community, right? Them gated communities are the dirty motherfuckers that's running everything in New Jersey and New York. They don't want to intermingle with us on a day-to-day basis. They only want our money. So they go stay in them gated communities and call us every kind of low life it is, because they looking at us as savages living off the fat of the land instead of living off industrialization. I'd rather be living off the fat of the land than working a 9 to 5. I'd rather have a farm than work in the factory. Right? See, all these ladies talking about they want a husband. No, you don't. No, you don't. A husband is a farmer. A husband is a land cultivator. A husband is an animal breeder. He's a geneticist of the family's farm to make sure he can produce the optimum feedstock for the family. He is a seed analyst to determine which seeds to be planted. He is an almanac writer. Fuck the reader. You don't want no husband. That dude got to put in too much work. By the time you get him, he gonna be old as me. And he gonna be wondering why all these people married and lived their whole life while he was just training himself to be a good husband, a good farmer, a good management of the land. You can't manage the land when you have outside forces undermining your management capabilities. So they wasn't allowed to sell us land. This is the kicker. This is the biggest one nobody's paying attention to. Go get Black Labor, White Wealth by Claude Anderson. And look at how much property we owned in 1900. And look at how much property we own now. That's from 1900. Go back further and the plots of land gets much bigger. But the $1 million question that nobody asking is, if these niggas came on slave ships, and if these niggas got free from the plantation, who the hell gave them all this land when they weren't allowed to purchase land from palefaces? Where they get the land that the sharecroppers deceived them out of under sharecropping agreements and fraudulent contracts? Where did these people that look like me get this land if we all came from Africa as slaves and they not allowed to sell us land? Where did we get the fucking land? How do we get land in a place where we are the foreigners? When nobody's allowed to do corporate business with us. Remember, they hide behind the pale faces in order to know when we coming to do business, they ain't one of us, because they wouldn't have been coming to do business with you. That's how you know they one of them people from this land, and they believe this narrative that you actually running this piece. You ain't running nothing. All you is a figurehead. You are a company emblem. You a logo. In my doctrine, in this chess game called white supremacy, we wondering why was we referred to as black. We was on the defense. Black people are the defenders of the land. We are the Black Panthers. We are the Black Gorillas. We are the Black Eagle Clan, the Black Foot, the Black Hawk. All of these is the defending tribes of the 9 treaty nations that went from fighting bloody war with guns, spears, and bows and arrows to fighting a war using the conjure, because it was a ceasefire agreement. And the only way to break the contract and end it all is one of the chiefs that's in the amnesia state have to educate himself out of the amnesia. Still don't mean he won't suffer from some of the effects. But I'm going to tell y'all this. If y'all think Rod Hayes cold now, wait until my brain get fixed. My brain broke still. I had epilepsy when I was little because my brain got broke. Wait till, I ain't put back together yet. Wait till I get put back together. Then I'm going to show y'all something. I'm just, like right now, I'm just armchair revolutionarying. I'm giving y'all new lenses to look through to see the deception that's being played, so that the mystic powers over your mind, that childhood fascination they held as people and powers over you, is no longer effective. And that's when we ready to claim what's rightfully ours. People keep asking me, how do I get my ancestor land back? Well, 9 out of 10, it won't be the same plot, but you will be compensated. The whole land got to be redistributed. The whole structure of all of the clans have to be restructured. New lines of demarcation. New capital cities. New metropolises. Everything has to move from what it was to what we decide as a tribal confederacy, a confraternity of clans across the land, how to re-put this back together. And believe me, I don't believe in life in prison, but I sure as hell believe in the death penalty. I don't believe in life in prison, but I sure as hell believe in the death penalty. Because some of these motherfuckers is not fit to be living among regular humans. I got to tell y'all that because it's true. I don't have to like it, but it's true. Some of these people that's in these institutions is so effed up that they are not fit to walk the street with regular people, because they're going to be a problem, and you're not going to have an answer for the problem when it comes. But the majority of them you can work with. Like, I'm talking about 90%. But it's the other ones that we worried about. They done made some monsters, some horrible individuals out of what was a human. Right? They done ruined them. They no longer fit. So, I mean, I don't believe in life in prison, but I believe in the death penalty. But the people that's not fit, I don't know what to do with them. I have no clue what to do with the ones that they done ruined so bad that you can't let them walk down the street with regular people. Can you imagine how bad they done messed somebody up where they can't walk down the street with regular people lest they look for a cause of action to ruin somebody else's life. I was in there. I looked in some of the coldest, darkest eyes you could ever see. And I done looked in some of the coldest, bluest eyes you'd never see. And I done looked in some of the coldest hazel eyes you'd never see. But ain't none of these motherfuckers got no soul. And all these motherfuckers ain't pale. They got people look like me. Look, I had a bunkie being so tormented